So, lads, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about something, and I'm just talking about whether or not we are wrong. Whether or not we've been wrong about the entire situation, because there are actually two options when it comes to Stephanie White for coaching. The two options are the fever in the sky. Why? Because she wants to be back home. She wants to be back closer to home because there are issues that have arisen, and she needs to be close at home, which is completely fine. I don't think anyone will ever complain about somebody doing something for the good of their family. At the end of the day, that's realistically what we're all doing, most of us do what we do. But she's obviously, Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever are both very close to her family. They're both quite close to each other. And maybe we are completely wrong because there is no guarantee that she goes and plays, or it's not plays, she coaches the Fever, because Curt Miller is an option too. And if you're asking me who is the better option, Curt Miller or Stephanie White for Christy Sides, I think either of them are good options. If you are just saying, oh, but Curt Miller was on coaching the worst team, look at the players he had. Stephanie White was coaching one of the best teams. She did a really, really good job. But Curt Miller literally coached. Curt Miller made 2 finals with the Connecticut Sun. He made the finals twice with them. So it's not like Curt Miller has done nothing. He has made 2 WNBA finals. He just took on the Sparks job, which is a dumb idea. So the fact is that if this turns out that this is a case of the Sky getting one and the Fever getting the other, you can't lose. You can't lose. These are both really good coaches. You cannot lose with Stephanie White or Curt Miller. And I mean that. You cannot. You cannot lose with either of these coaches. So if you're a Sky fan and you get left with Curt Miller, trust me, he did exactly what Stephanie White did with that Connecticut Sun team. In fact, he got them to 2 finals. He did better. And he's a coach of the year. Chicago Sky made developments in their head coaching search, gotten calls about their vacancy, and were assessing suitors. Some highly touted candidates have stood out in Chicago's search, headlined by former Sun coach Stephanie White and Curt Miller. And Latricia Trammell, as far as I'm aware, is also in that conversation for the Chicago Sky coach. It's weird. I want one of these teams to just bring in somebody new. As in bring in a college coach, bring in somebody new, bring in someone from the NBA, and not just be coaches swapping teams. Not like Curt Miller to Chicago, Stephanie White to Indiana, or Curt Miller to, I don't know, Curt Miller to Atlanta, Stephanie White to somewhere, Christy Sides to Dallas, Trammell to Chicago. I don't. That's the last thing I want to see, is just swapping coaches. Will the Sky land 2 of them? News broke that the Sun parted way with White. She's reportedly in talk with a few teams, including the Sky. Stephanie White started her coaching career with the Fever, and that's the thing, is she does have coaching and playing experience with Indiana. Could she return to Illinois roots to coach an enticing young Sky squad? And in fairness, I do think that if you're talking about who suits better as a coach, I think Stephanie White suits the Sky better than Curt Miller does, and I think Curt Miller might suit the Fever a little bit better. But the reality is optics come into account as well. You're not going to hire a coach. The optics do matter. No matter how good Curt Miller is, most people watched the WNBA this year, and he did badly. So the optics genuinely do matter from this. But he just had 2 bad seasons, 2 real bad seasons with the Sparks. Even when he had Neko and McKay, they weren't good. And it said here he played a crucial part in the development. I mean, I don't think he did anything with Brink, but he did do a great job with Rickea Jackson. And people are like, oh, he should have given Rickea Jackson more time. There's different ways of developing players, but playing them more doesn't guarantee you're developing them, especially when she was getting 30 minutes a game by the end of the year. Before there was run with the Sparks, he spent 7 seasons as a coach at the Suns, where he helped make the squad make the playoffs 6 times. Sky have steep competition. I don't understand where the competition for Miller is, though. Stephanie White is a big one. And if I'm the Sky, I'm not looking for Latricia Trammell. Latricia Trammell, if you want to say him winning 7 games with the Sparks is unacceptable, the Sparks sucked. Latricia Trammell, I get it, her players were injured. They lost like 10 games in a row post-Olympics. Like, they had, post-Olympics, a healthy Arike, Natasha Howard, and Satu. And they still couldn't win a game. They went on a 3-game winning streak, and then they still couldn't win a game. They ended the year on a 9-game losing streak. She had Satu. She had a fully healthy team. And she still couldn't win a game. So I would be, if I was Chicago, I would go for Kurt Miller. We're assuming that Stephanie White's gone. But I don't know how sure I am about Stephanie White being the Fever coach. I would be 99% sure. But 99 is not 100. 99 is absolutely not 100%. And the fact that the Sky are still an option there, the fact that she was still taking interviews with the Sky means that there's a decision. There's a decision to be had. Like, if she knew, if she knew the Fever wanted her, and she could have just had sole negotiating, and there was a price she wanted to get, she could have showed up to Indiana, named her price, and said, "Give me this money, or I'll go somewhere else." You don't need to take an interview to have leverage with the Sky. You can just be like, "Well, these want me, so if you give me this, I'm going, or I can go to them." But she's still, and then obviously the Sun are in that as well. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that the Sky aren't completely out of the running when it comes to Stephanie White, because, like, they're a team as far as their players, individual players, that are closer to the Connecticut Sun last year, just as far as, like, what their players do. Like, she can run probably a more similar system. She can find someone that can be like an Alyssa Thomas. She can maybe try turning Angel Reese into an Alyssa Thomas. And at the same time, maybe as well, she doesn't want to do a rebuild. Like, there's no guarantee that somebody wants to do a rebuild. Just in general. Like, she could very, very well be of the opinion of, I don't want to do that, which is why she may not go to Sky. But on the flip side, she's under a lot of pressure with non-basketball related stuff. Maybe she's saying, maybe I can't deal with championship pressure. Maybe I can go to Chicago, be close to these, and maybe I can embrace the rebuild. I got a superstar. I got 2 young stars in Reese and Cardoso. I got Kennedy Carter. I think I can turn this team into a playoff team. And if it's win a ring or bust with Indiana, and if I win 15 games and scrape in as the 8th seed, they're going to think I did a great job in Chicago. That is an option, especially if the 2 teams are paying equally. So yeah, I still think she's probably going to Indiana, but I think it's at least a possibility that she ends up in Chicago.